In the top right part of the map, we have our purple Protoss player from All Inspirations, currently up one game. It is Shadver.
Bottom right hand of the map, spawning as the pink Zerg player yet again. It is blackberries. Losing game one. Pulling out this one.
So merry-go-round, of course, being that kind of bizarre asymmetry thing that you kind of get with some maps every now and again. This one's not forced, though. It's just the three spawns will always make it so that either your back of your base is going to be facing your opponent or the front of your base is going to be facing your opponent. And that matters a lot sometimes, especially if you're facing a Terran player. Still can be relevant against a Protoss player, though, especially if he decides to go for that Warp Prism attack.
Open air, always a problem, especially if you don't have eyeballs on it.
But such a huge main. So many places to drop.
A lot of dark spot, yeah.
I have to admit, though, even though it's only ever really happened to me once, these large mains always make me paranoid of Nidus worms. I know it's not a particularly common thing, but I had one game on a map. I can't even remember which map this was, but really large main like this one, and then a really large natural as well. And this guy, he was just gonna get a Nidus worm in my base. It was gonna happen. I was like spreading pylons out everywhere to give me total vision. I shut down like four of them. And then he finally finds one dark spot, tiny little dark spot in my natural that I didn't see, and just lings flooded in from nowhere, and I thought I was safe, and I was building buildings. And I'm like, ah. Ever since then, I've feared the darkness, so to speak, around my base.
Spreading the darkness.
I don't see where I'm supposed to put my spawning pool to block pathing on this map, and Shadver's like, I don't know. Well, that's not it.
Definitely didn't block pathing there, as he did see everything. Also, expansion. Drone gonna come down here and boxing action.
So probes like to practice what I believe to be the secret art of aggravation.
Aggro. Yes.
It's not aggro in that sense, it's more like unbelievably irritating sort of aggravation. And pretty much what you're looking at there, people will they use their probes to block things. It's incredibly annoying. Let's be honest. That's why Protoss players do it. It not only slows down the hatchery, but it also really unstabilizes your opponent mentally. It's also probably good if he's not physically in the same room with you when you do this, because he might try to kill you. But
yes.
Keeping that in mind, I like to imagine. In other words, I like to imagine that instead of being terrorists, they're more like ninjas. They sneak around, they hide things all over the place, they execute secret plans and schemes. Although the word terrorist does kind of work here as well.
I was going to say, technically, ninjas could be terrorists,
yes.
Given
yes, a little bit more. But I like to believe they have a little more finesse than just that.
Yes.
It's perspective of a Protoss player instead of a Zerg one right there, and you go friends with Faust, know what I mean?
Terrorists. Oh, terrorist.
No, he's the guy who calls probes terrorists.
Ah.
Boom!
The terrorist right there in the main base.
So
fighting his plans for
pretty much usual stuff here. Fast expands both sides, quick third from the Zerg player. And I'm guessing from here, Shadver will either see him transition to a two-base attack, or he'll go down the usual Colossus and then High Templar. Which, I guess you can also go Stargate. Stargate's tricky. Like, it's one of those techs that's extremely strong if you can get a really, really well secured third. But it's tough to build into. Again, I could be going Phoenixes like he did last game. It did work out well for him.
Phoenixes went very well last game. I'd like to see them again. We don't see a lot of Phoenix play. It takes a lot of control, a lot of control. Hard to macro and micro.
It is still one of my preferred builds. I'm not very good at it, I admit. Like, my Zerg win rate is terrible.
Oh,
but,
for sure, no.
But it makes it better, because it forces you to do more. It's really hard to keep up with, but if you can pull it off, you're gonna have really solid Protoss macro mechanics.
He's gonna poke up here at the front.
I actually find his positioning of his mothership core incredibly interesting here. He's usually putting it forward rather than toward the middle of the base, which that's actually a relevant thing. Usually when you're fearing a potential air attack into the main, you'll position the mothership core further into the back just so you can have access to photon overcharge. Nice stop on the probe there that was attempting to go for the third. Delays it by another 20, 30 seconds or so. You may have just been setting that up for a little bit, but as you can see, he's built up some extra minerals. He's not really on his build anymore. And he's going to try and loop around, stop it again. Yes, but... Oh, he didn't see the probe, so that was most likely going to die too.
Probe could actually turn around and fight that.
No.
No, not enough shield left now.
Well, that's pretty rough. He's delayed it by a pretty insane amount now. I wonder if he's just going to transition to something else, not even bother. Yeah, there's a Dark Shrine.
Dark Shrine.
No third. He's just going to go all in.
You've made me angry. I'm going to send invisible angry at you.
Well, I mean, this is not something that he should be totally not expecting at all. We did see, like, we did even mention his old Dark Templar icon in Skype. Made a thing out of it, so.
Oh, he gave away his plan before.
But the problem is, I mean, do you really buy that as a player? No, of course you don't. You look at it and you go, nah, probably won't happen.
Words.
Still, though, yeah, Shadver needs to get something done. He needs to get a third. He's still okay for that. I kind of delayed so you can go between 10 and 11 minutes, but if you wait much longer than that, as I have discovered many times against the Zerg, you simply don't have much stuff against where they're going.
Yep. As a Protoss player, it is definitely very, very annoying not to have your third. Like, when you know he's got one more base than you.
Still hasn't turned over these gateways, which is actually cutting into his production a bit. He could have many, many more units. There we go.
Yeah, enough. That brings us to a total of 7. 8. On the way, Lings run right past them.
If he's staring at his army, he just saw that happen, which it looks like he wasn't. DTs are going to split up into the 3 bases, and this is the most frustrating moment for any player in this game. Is when you realize that not only are DTs here, but they're everywhere. Immediate reaction, of course, is to start building detection somewhere. He's got a Spore Crawler coming up in one base. Only one, though. There's no mobile detection. And I think Shadver might just kill him with this. He's going for a counter push. He's actually able to get pretty far into the base. Looks like he's going to kill the +1 upgrade on his weapons, which is not canceled, I don't believe. And there's a huge break in here. It looks like we're actually going to move ourselves into a low econ situation, as there's nothing really to defend us back home. Photon Overcharge is going to come out. It's going to start chipping away at this army. Anytime now. Looks like he's focusing on controlling the DTs. Ace has actually been reduced down to literally no workers. He's got nothing. This attack is his last one. He's not able... And the problem is, unfortunately, these DTs, there's nothing to stop them. There's no detection here. They will eventually kill this army. As long as he escapes somewhere on the map and is able to build buildings, I think it's pretty safe to say that Shadver essentially has this one.
Knife in the back here. Invisible knife. Last convergence in the call.
Here's the detection, but I don't think there's actually enough alive to kill them anymore. He's got 3 links.
Currently looking at actually 0 workers.
Wait a minute, both? Actually, he has no workers either. He's going to be able to rebuild them, but...
AceAl just built 11 drones.
Heck, wow. Well, if he had been able to save some of the workers in the midst of all that, I would have actually still given it to Shadver, but... You know what? Without any economy at all, Zerg is going to rebuild a little quicker. One thing Shadver's got going for him, though, is that he can actually build units. He's got a decent bank.
He does.
But he's got to get over there and stop Ace's rebuilding now.
Overseer here. Not gonna get protected.
He's trying to split them. They didn't run them, though, so they're not going to get away. there any hiding in the main base? Looks like those were cleaned up.
The third not going to find anything to slaughter there.
Looks like he wants to work on the third base. I don't think he's going to be able to kill it really, but he does at least get one more worker. Archon.
I'll make it out of there.
And it looks like we're heading into kind of a long-form game here. This is definitely still possible for Ace to win this. I called it a little bit too early before. In fact, it's, as time goes on, becoming more and more likely, as he has now gone back up to 19-20 workers against 6.
Yes, AceAl knows what's going on here.
Now, unfortunately, there's still a simple reality that there's an army of Protoss units, and I don't think he has quite what he needs to kill that.
Nope, and this extra bio damage from Archon.
Toss, Chrono OP. Now, unfortunately, we have actual data to imply that 27 workers is higher than 7 Chrono Booster now. So, while that may be true, 3 hatcheries worth of drone production is still pretty good. That said, all he has got to defend this is a Spine Crawler, so this is gonna probably look kind of one-sided. There's still no detection, though, so he can actually save most of these workers. It's just the fact that he won't be able to save the buildings. That is not the safest place to fight this army. Great blinks. Everything alive. Oh, so many. Oh, all the workers. Well, we're back to essentially no workers versus workers. Shadver takes it. What was that? All right.
Well,
we're done. Shadver takes it 2-0. You would hardly believe that game happened just by looking at the score.